first off, I want to thank everybody for getting on today. We have a very special guest from FFL Shield, Mr. Dean Pavlic. He is a Hall of Fame member, and he is building a huge organization. And look at this. I even got a clap track for you.
There you go.
Hey, all right. There we go. So Dean, we've been talking a little bit, man. I just want to really get into, the fact that you just moved from where were you? You were in Florida, correct?
I was in Tampa. Prior to Tampa, I was in Virginia running business as well.
Oh, okay. So you've had to kind of recreate yourself from a producer standpoint as far as your leads, right? So
Correct.
You've had to move from Virginia to Tampa now to Charlotte, and I kind of want to dive into it because I think that you've done a really good job at really maximizing the lead opportunities that we have and going out, thinking outside of the box in order to get in front of people. Okay.
Correct.
So if you would you give them a little bit of background on you, man, just so they can get a kind of a background with you?
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate you guys for having me on here. It's always an honor to do, one of these guest calls and talk a little bit about my history and how I got involved. But long story short, Zach, I got introduced to FFL almost 5 years ago at the end of 2017. And when I heard about the opportunity of how this business worked and how simple it was with just getting leads and going to work, I was like, I'm hooked. Let's go. The only difference was 5 years ago, Zach, we didn't have the lead resources we have now. We had mortgage mailers, and you couldn't get your hands on any counties because everybody had it locked out. So my upline, Luke Bohach, who got me involved, generously handed me over like aged, mortgage leads that were anywhere from 6 months to 3 years of age. And my first intuition was, what do I do with them? Call them. What do I say? They fill the form out for mortgage protection. Every lead I had in a door knock, like 3-year-old mortgage leads, and I resolved them within a matter of 60 days. I literally part-timed it. I didn't even work full hours. I didn't have a schedule. I just did it when I felt it was convenient because I was already making more money than I was at my previous industry, which was, retail supplement sales. So I went from that into this, and it really took off. And then essentially, Zach, as well as I do, leads started evolving the more FFL grew. And then when integrity came into the game a couple of years ago, that's when it really blew up. I mean, I think we still misunderstand what we have at hand here. And I literally scratch my head and I chuckle at people when they tell me that the leads are bad. No, it's your attitude that's bad, and it's your activity that's really bad behind it, because I've been doing this gig for almost 5 years. I've probably been more profitable last year part-timing this business than I ever have because I'm building on it. And there's a lot of opportunity here, and a lot of people don't understand what we have at stake. And when I moved from one location to another and then moved again for the third time, I never had issues because what we have available. I just went and grabbed what was there and I went to work. It was that simple. And you just do more and more of it and you become profitable. And that's kind of like how my involvement was since day one in this business.
So will you kind of hit on like because whenever you were like January, February, we were running all CRM leads, right?
Correct. Yes.
And what were we issuing in January and February?
So when I moved, right before I moved, Zach, I went ahead and did CRM, and I looked already like what counties are available to get mortgage mails. Because in Tampa, I ran nothing but mortgage, and that's how I hit Hall of Fame. With the exception when I first moved, I had to mix in some final expense, like, Facebook leads from like Happy Agent and Game Time and so forth. And then my mailers started coming in more like aggressively, so that I just switched directly to them. When I moved up here, I didn't have any counties locked out yet. So I was able to get my hands on quite a few counties up here, but I knew that it was going to take a little bit of time to start getting data. And I was like, I got to keep working. And I didn't want to spend the money on final expense leads paying, $25, $30 a pop, when I could go turn that around and take advantage of WorkSpots and double down on the lead data. I will tell you, it sucked dialing through a lot of those, but I just kept staying busy. February, that's when more of my mortgage data started coming in. So I was half and half at that point. Come March, I completely phased out of it because now I got enough mortgage leads coming in to the point where I don't need to run CRM leads unless I want to supplement them for additional work. So fun fact is, I've actually hired a former agent of mine who is a full-time mom that does some work. Thankfully, she has a good supporting significant other that pays the majority of the bills, but she wanted to be involved in the business. I hired her as my kind of like my admin / dialer right now, and she's filling my schedule alongside with what I'm dialing. So now, now I'm running, 30, and next week we're going to start putting 40 appointments on in-field on my calendar because I want to be relentless to grow my numbers, because then it's going to allow me to put more money into recruiting and rehire another staff, because I used to have staff last year and I fired all of them because we didn't grow. And that's one of the things that we have to learn about this business is fire fast, hire slow, because at the end of the day, your work and your business depends on other people's results that you're working along with them. And when you don't have the results, you got to re-evolve all over. Same thing that happened to me. I had to re-evolve with leads. And I knew that there was enough CRM leads. Like there was thousands of leads in like 5 counties around here. I never had an issue. I would buy 300-400 leads every dial day and I would just go to work. And it worked out. So when people tell me, leads are bad, I'm like, okay, how many leads you buy? I bought 150 of them, or I spent $150 on them. I'm like, yeah, good luck on that. You might as well go get a full-time job and be bossed around. It's just real. I mean, it's just transparency at this point. To me, I've seen this business change, Zach, in almost 5 years, that I never in my last 5 years had issues writing business because I just kept staying busy. Did I slow down at times? Sure. A lot of people fall off the bandwagon and then climb back on it. It happens. But the thing with it is, I was always able to get more momentum because of the available resources we had with FFL, thanks to Sean, Mike, and integrity involved, and expanding those resources out to us to the point that now, hey, it's not that difficult to get a brand new agent and go out there and help them get paid, and it's all a matter of, are you willing to make a sacrifice for the first 90 days to outwork your situation so that you can reinvest half of your profits into more leads, more resources, so you can stay profitable ahead of the game. And that's what the big thing is here. Most people are not ready to do that. And that's okay. Just tell us right away. But at the end of the day, I know that I don't have to depend on other agents to pay my bills, because I'm always going to be active in the field to do what's necessary and to do what's right to lead from the front.
Gotcha, man. So I want you to hit on, you spoke about WorkSpots real quick. I know that there's some that are on here that don't really utilize WorkSpots or don't even know what it is. If you could you just tell me, exactly how you utilize WorkSpots and the discounts that are available to you?
Yeah, so WorkSpot's has been great. I was very hesitant to pull the trigger on it initially, like most people. I'm like, yeah, I don't want to pay $100. But $100 is literally like 1/12 of a policy cost that you put in premium, right? So, and at the same time, that it pays for itself. So just think about it this way. I'm gonna give you guys an example. If we didn't have WorkSpots, right, and your upline hires you and he says you need to go and buy 400 happy agent leads and they're $30 a piece, like you'll be pretty upset about that. But you know that you needed at least 400 people to have a successful next week to 2 weeks, right? Well, think about how WorkSpots is. You're paying literally a fraction of the cost. Let's say the lead is, I'm going to use $10 just to say a round number. They give you 50% off. And you're paying, instead of paying, let's say you buy 200 leads, it's $2,000. They give you 50% off, now you're $1,000. One policy will literally pay you back your investment. It made sense, right? So when I saw the discounts coming out almost every single week, which now is literally consistently every single week, 35, 40, 50% off, you can't lose. So I did that religiously every single week to stay ahead of the game. And essentially WorkSpots paid for itself. That rule since day one on 50-50. So anytime you make an investment or get an investment back, 50% is automatically into your business. So why is that? Well, you're going to have bad weeks, Zach. You're going to have bad days. We all went through it. But knowing the fact that, hey, Next week, WorkSpots is going to come out with another discount. You got $6,000 sitting in your separate account. I'm going to take another 1,000 to buy more leads at that discounted cost and stay ahead of the ball game. And that's how you're going to win in this business long term. The whole goal with this thing is, how much are we going to survive long term? Everybody has short term goals. Like, you want to buy a car, you want to move into a nice place, you want to do this, you want to do that. I lived well below my means in my very first year here. I drove a car with, 300,000 miles. I had the cheapest little iPad to use in the field. I didn't splurge. We lived in a small little condo, 1,100 square foot. We didn't live a fancy life up until my second and third year because we earned it. But you have to make that sacrifice in order to get ahead of the game. And you got to live like you're broke every single first of the month. If you treat yourself like you start at zero on first of every month, like you're going to stay ahead, because it's going to force you to work harder, and it's going to force you to be able to invest in yourself a lot more. And I'm great and glad and thankful what WorkSpots has done for us and a lot of our agents, because people can literally go ahead and stay ahead of the game.
What is your mindset whenever you're going into calling those CRM leads? And like, were you using like phone burner, or were you texting them, like how aggressive were you whenever you were trying to resolve all those leads?
So a couple of things. I never use phone burner because to me, I think it's confusing. I hate it. I don't like it. I'm not a fan of it. I'm old school. I will punch the numbers and keep hitting redial. I don't care. It's a thing I've done since day one. I'm gonna continue doing it because it works for me. If you use phone burner, great. I think it's a great program. It's a great platform. I just don't have the time to figure out how to export data and put it in there, whatever. I'll print to this day, like I literally have my folder. I print all my leads to this day. Everything is printed. And I know that if I'm going to go out in the field, my goal is, Zach, my mindset and goal every dial session is this. If I have 300 leads in front of me, I don't care about the no's right away. I don't care about the objections. All I care about, how many yeses can I get right out of the gate, because the no's and the objections I'm going to work, right? And here's the number one mistake a lot of people make when they make the calls. Well, I call my leads, I processed them. What do you mean you processed them? I called them. Okay. Did they say no to you to your face? No. So why do you consider it processed? You should take those leads with you while you're already in the field and go door knock them or call them at a different time between appointments when you have a little bit of downtime to process those leads. That was my mentality since day one, because that's what I learned to do right out of the gate. I had crappy 3-year-old leads, were not really crappy. I thought they were crappy, but to me, they were brand new, that I went out and just door knocked a bunch of them, and I wrote a bunch of premium on. From that mentality, to me, you can't throw an excuse why leads are bad. The only time a lead is really, really bad is if you don't have a people-to-people connection when you go to the house and you try to door knock them. If literally every single person slams the door in your face, that means you need more people skills. But it's not that difficult to say, hey, Zach, hey, man, I'm so sorry to bother you. It's hot out here. It's cold out here, whatever the weather is. I was right down the road with, talking to one of your neighbors not too far from you. She filled the request up, but I noticed you had the same request. Been trying to get a hold of you. Number one, I'm glad you're alive, because I was worried there for a second. Number two, this takes 10 minutes to go over this with you. You got time now, or are you going to be available the same time tomorrow? I'll be back in the area. That's it.
I love the, I'm glad you're alive.
Yeah, because it's like, it shows compassion. It shows, it's a sense of urgency. And when people see that you're genuinely care, it's like, oh, okay, well, come on in. What's the worst going to happen? You guys slam the door in your face, big deal. I'll tell them, you know what, do me a favor, can you shred this for me? Because that way I don't come back to your house.
Yeah, whenever people tell me no to my face whenever I'm door knocking, I give them the lead. I'm like, here, man, and they're like, I don't want it. I was like, well, I don't want it either.
Exactly.
It costs me $70. I bought my $70. I'm bringing it out here to you. You can throw it away. Don't fill
exactly.
out. Don't be filling out no more stuff.
Exactly. And that's how you got to live by it. You got to live by that mentality. And last but not least, to get prepared and stay ahead, Zach, is you got to have no emotions attached to this. It's not personal. Nobody's offending you personally. It's just business. And when you understand that this is always going to be bigger than you, you're always going to be ahead, because we can't outbeat this system that's here, right? We can only go with it and participate. And when we participate, it's going to do you a lot of favors, and it's going to change your life. I promise you that.
So, man, so Sean said that a bunch. I've heard him say this. He says a man that's in control of his emotions is a dangerous man, right? So, like, how do you keep a hold of your emotions if you go out and you have one of those days? We've all had one of those days where you go 0 for 9. You just get your teeth kicked in, and then you got, more appointments the next day or the next day's dial day. And that was how you ended that week. Like, how do you not let that carry over into that next day and that following day?
So I look at the bright side. I think activity is going to pay the bills, right? No matter what we do, we can only control what we can control, right? That includes the emotion part. I used to be very emotional in the beginning about this business because I would take things personal. Oh my God, Mary told me no. What do I do? And then I would just let go of it. I would not process it. And then I had to learn to be busy. So one way to learn to be busy is if I had a terrible day and the next day I had a full day, you got to wake up with a positive mindset. You got to go into this positive every single day, no matter how bad your life can be. We all face adversity, right? We all deal with terrible performances in the field, but we have to be able to control that. One of the things I look forward to is, okay, bad days, no matter how many bad days I've had, I know that there's always going to be something good at the end of it if you keep positive with it. I can tell you that at one point in time, Zach, I had like 21 appointments in 2.5 days, and I had 13 no-shows back to back. 13. And I literally, I wanted to reach deep down inside into my roots and pull whatever hair's left in my head and yank it out. But I kept my cool. I finished that terrible day, and I went and worked out. It's all about understanding that tomorrow is going to be better if you want it to be better, emotionally and physically. So we don't have to sit here and pout about how bad our day was. It's going to happen. Look, you can talk to top producers all the time. What advantage do they have that we don't, that most of us don't, I should say? They have more appointments. That's literally it. It's a numbers game. When you understand that if the numbers work the way they work, you're always going to be ahead. It's a 50-50 game, or I like to call it a game of thirds. Third of the people you book are going to be there. The second third are going to no-show. The third ones are going to literally BS you. And if the ones that BS you, who cares? If the ones that no-show you, call them back, rebook it. And the ones that you're going to help are going to be so rewarding that you, no matter how bad of the ones you had, is going to overshadow the bad ones because you're going to have a good day no matter what. Because you never know what you're going to walk into. You don't know what you're going to walk into if you stay persistent. There's times I door knock people 4 or 5 times before I walk in the house. I don't give up on people because I wanted to just make this work. And because of that relentlessness early on, it taught me a lot of struggles and failures that I was able to overcome to this point. So to me, emotions now don't even matter. Like, oh, you're not home, cool, no big deal. I'll go to the next one. So now I'm intentional about booking an appointment every hour on the hour because, okay, if Mary and Bob aren't going to be home, I'm going to go to Joe and Felicia down the road and help Joe and Felicia out. And that's how I treat it now. That's the mentality I walk in every single day, man.
Okay. Now, what about, so as far as phones go, like how long do you dial?
Until I have enough appointments booked.
I knew that answer. And what is your goal?
I mean, right now, 25 to 30 is a bare minimum. With the help of my former agent that's helping me dial, we're shooting for 40. I'm looking for her to fill my gaps in between what I can fill in. So while I'm out running, she's dialing and she's filling out the other gaps while I'm out in the field.
Okay.
So, and I pay her, and I actually pay her.
What are you doing to eliminate no-shows? Like, what are your tie downs? What are certain things that you do on the phone that you think that has eliminated some of those no-shows? So you don't get 13 in a row anymore, I'm assuming, right?
No, not anymore now.
What do you think you did to tighten up your phone script?
Well, I tried the big as an elephant shotgun behind her door, but I don't have the accent for it, so that didn't work in my favor. I did try that because I watched a lot of your dialing videos early on a couple of years ago. I was like, oh, that sounds pretty good. Let me try it. And I was like, yeah, I suck at it. I don't have the Southern Carolina accent. But what I do is real simple. I do crack some jokes. I tell them, hey, look, Zach, I don't have a lot of time, but I want you to write my information down. Here's my license number. This is something I do carry around my lanyard. You'll be more than welcome to ask me for it when I get there. Number 2, I'm going to be in a white F-150. It's got big tires on it. You can't miss it. When you see a handsome bald fella step out, you know it's the right person, all right? And then, by the way, what color is your house? Is your numbers on the house, mailbox, or both? do you prefer if I knock on the front door, side door, or back door? And I do these intentionally because I want them to understand, hey, I'm coming out. And
Gotcha.
another thing you can add into is, when you took time to fill this out, who were you thinking about the most to leave this for? I get
And
a
do you say that on the
beneficiary.
phone?
I said it on the phone because I want them to think about what's about to happen when I come out. I want them to think about that individual that I'm going to be protecting when I come out there. So I say, hey, who are you thinking about the most? Is it a spouse, kids, sibling? Like who's that individual that's going to be responsible for everything when you, God forbid, you die? And they tell me, well, it's going to be my daughters. Okay, great. How many kids you got? One or two? Great. Are your kids local or out of state? They're local. Okay, great. So I know right out of the gate that someone's local is going to be responsible for their funeral, for their mortgage, for whatever the case is. And it allows me to go in without any tension into the house and say, I sit down. I don't even build rapport anymore. I don't talk about that initially. I just get straight to the business. I have the lead in front of me and I say, hey, I understand you wanted to lead us for your kids. Talk to me a little about what made you fill this request, or what was so important for your kids that you want to make sure they're taken care of. And bam, I go right into it. I build rapport as I'm typing out the application. How long you been here? Great. And that's the best way to ease the tension. Why do that? Why do I do that during the application? Because guess what's the number one objection? I don't want to give you my social. I don't want to give you my bank account number. But when I'm building a relationship with them while I'm filling out the application, I can easily overlook that fear of working and say, oh yeah, by the way, man, what bank will you be using for your drafts? Oh, it's going to be USAA. I pull up USAA routing number on Google. Is this a routing number 253175? I'm not sure. Go ahead and grab it from it. Let's verify it. And they're going and grab the checkout. I never have objections on bank account because I do it that smooth of a transition. And before you know it, they trust me. I leave a folder. I actually have a red folder. I copied this from Jamie Cheerio. I used to leave the Americo Mutual folder. I don't do that anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I tell them I'm gonna leave this bright red folder with you. The reason I leave red because it literally senses or screams at you sense of urgency because it's bright red. Okay, what you're gonna find in here is my pamphlet, a will kit book. I am your policy description, a policy disclosure form, and a copy of the actual pamphlet about the coverage, right? Like the Eagle Premier or whatever. And I tell them most people misplace their policy information. They put it somewhere in a junk box or pile. But when you know it's a red folder, you know it's going to be about your life policy. So you can tell your kids, look for the bright red folder. And I write their name on it, Mary, life insurance. So you do things like this, and it solidifies the relationship, and it eliminates a lot of chargebacks at the same time.
Absolutely.
So you do these little things. You tie down initially. You build rapport as you're going through the process. The only thing your first 5 to 10 minutes is to find out their why. Is to literally bombard them with questions as to what it is that they're looking for. And I do this with every single lead, whether it's CRM, final expense, or mortgage. I need to know why I'm sitting in the house right this second. I need them to sell me. And 9 out of 10 times, they sell me on why I'm there. The rest is easy.
Gotcha. So the last thing I want to talk about real quick, and then we'll wrap it up. I want to talk about how, so whenever you move to Charlotte, right? So I know that I've got all the counties locked down in upstate North Carolina and or upstate South Carolina, Western North Carolina, right? So whenever you were moving up there, it wasn't just as easy as you just go into Sasha and going, hey, I want these counties, right? I want you to talk about how you generated mortgage protection leads, even though you're in a very saturated area with not a lot of availability, because I think that a lot of these agents think that, oh, I can't do that, or I don't have any leads, or we've got some seasoned people on here that are going, I don't have leads. My leads are slowing down. How did you do that?
So I'm gonna let you guys on a very little secret. That's not really a secret at all. When we went to Miami to national conference at that big stadium, one thing I noticed, Zach, is the amount of people that did not go to the vendor booths. They were just prancing around, chit-chatting, making friends, eating their hot dogs and burgers like they were watching a baseball game over there. I took the initiative and I talked to the vendors, and I discovered a couple of lead vendors out there, and I got their phone numbers. So when I came back from conference, I called those lead vendors. Ta-da! They have counties available. So I called one of the vendors, Mid-Atlantic Mortgage leads. They provided me with 7 counties in the Charlotte area with mailers. A month or so later, another vendor came about, Hall of Fame leads. Ta-da! I got 3 main counties for Hall of Fame mortgage leads. And then I've been having lead concepts since day one. So I've used lead concepts that I've been locked out here early on. I locked them out 2 months before I moved up here because I wanted to make sure I get counties. So I think preparation is key. This is why we go to these meetings that are so big. And I don't understand why people don't show up to these free conferences that are literally, that cost $7 million to put together, and everything is there. So when you see stuff like that, Zach, and I don't see people participating, I'm like, well, I'm going to see what they got to offer. Thankfully, I did that. And now I got leads because I was able to go in front of those people, introduce myself, get their information, and ask about what they got to offer. And the rest is history. So when we have something available and you don't partake in it, I'm confused genuinely why people don't do that. There's a lot of agents that don't do that. Like, I know it was exciting about going to Miami, you know, seeing everybody, seeing the top producers, picking their brains, all that stuff is great. All that information is on YouTube, by the way, talking about the in-home. You need to go learn how you're going to be profitable, and meeting those vendors was one of the ways to become profitable. And people didn't take advantage of it. So I prepared, because literally this was second month when we moved. I was still running CRM leads at that time when convention was around. And when I found out about those other vendors, I was like, this is brilliant. I immediately started investing, and like clockwork, every single week, I keep getting more and more and more. So the opportunity is available to all of us. The only difference is who's going to get there first. And that's how I look at it. And it's not like a race against each other, but it is a race against yourself. Make sacrifice early on to get far ahead. And that's one of the things I learned my very first year here, Zach, is how much can I sacrifice right out of the gate to get to where I want to be. And thankfully now we got a EVP agency that's still growing. We're approaching going up, you know, want to be the board member, and I'm still out here hustling because I love it. I mean, I'd rather, you know, run the field than sit at home. There's a lot of people that do virtual. Kudos to them. I can't sit for 8-9 hours straight in my office. No, thank you. I'll rather go drive and get my ass kicked. Pardon the French.
I just switched over to the virtual, man, just because I just had to do something. I had to freshen it up, man. You know, I've been doing the same thing for 7 years. So, you know, I like
that's great. There's nothing wrong with that. I mean, kudos to, I got ADHD. I can't sit still. I like to be on the move. Now, the only thing I will do from home is I will do a lot of referrals virtually, or I will do policy reviews. And this is another. And there's a lot of reviews that you can do, man, literally from 4 or 5 years ago. And I even verified, I called Sean Mike. I was like, Sean, I want to do these reviews. I need to know where the line in the sand draws, so I don't cross it. He said, anything over 2 years, do what you want. Anything under 2 years, I wouldn't touch it because it's going to mess with your persistency. And if the carrier is going to frown upon you. So be cautious with the reviews. I'm not saying replace everything, but if you can better their situation and improve what they got. I've written more Americo on top of their Americo. I've written more mutual on top of their mutual, and put them in a better position with mutual. And before you know it, your persistency is going to go up with them, and you get more premium, and you're doing what's right for the client.
Absolutely, dude. Well, hey, man, I can say that it has been awesome watching you grow in this business, because I've seen you. I always watch you. I'm one of those that don't say much, but I'm always watching, dude. I've watched your numbers go up. I've watched your team go up. I'm super proud of you, bro. And
thank you, brother.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I appreciate you getting on here and pouring into our team. Absolutely.
Anytime you guys need anything, if you see me at a local meeting, I think come say hi. By the way, June 25th, those who are around the Charlotte area, Concord, please be there. It's going to be a pretty big event. I look forward to seeing a bunch of you guys up here for that event. I mean, you don't want to miss it.
We'll be up there.
Yeah, sure. Absolutely. I look forward to seeing it. Only a couple of weeks away, so be there.
Absolutely. Well, guys, hey, we started on 0 today for a reason. It doesn't matter how good or how bad last week was. We're all at 0 today. Let's go. Let's get on the phones. Let's book up the weekend. Let's start this week off on the right foot. Again, Dean, appreciate you coming on here, man. I really do.
Absolutely.
And guys, if y'all need us, y'all holler at us. Let's go serve some families this weekend.